Throughout the Souls games, there are tons of areas that get bent, slapped over, and fucked like they're a stripper. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over the most underrated area throughout all the Souls games, and I'm going to be telling you why they're underrated and why you should start giving them some more love. So with that, let's get into the video. If you're new, make sure to like and subscribe. And we're going to be starting out with Dark Souls Remastered just because I haven't quite played Demon Souls yet, so I'll be sticking to the games that I'm most familiar with. I'd have to say the most underrated area in DSR is Blighttown. But it's a poison area. In DSR, poison does a total of 1 damage every 10 minutes, and it's super easy to avoid the poison. You can roll fast through it, you can use items to get rid of poison, and I just think in this area, poison adds kind of a strategical element in this area, unlike in the other Souls games. I will give it to you though, the mosquitoes are super annoying in this area, and in my opinion, that's the only down part. But I think the enemies are pretty good, they're well fit. The area, in my opinion, looks pretty nice. It's very interconnected, and has tons of secrets, tons of items, and has NPCs and quest lines that go with it. And if I am being honest, this is probably one of the worst, if not maybe the worst area in Dark Souls Remastered. But Dark Souls Remastered is a practically flawless game, and being at the bottom doesn't mean too much. I just think personally, this area gets too much hate, and next time you play DSR, give it a little run. Go through this area, don't just skim past it. Enjoy the area, fight the enemies, have a jolly old time in it. For Dark Souls 2, I decided to go with the Black Gulch. Nah, just kidding. For Dark Souls 2, I think by far the most underrated and overhated area is the Shrine of Amana. Now, I know what you're thinking. This area sucks because you get gangbangs and fucked by the mages while you have to deal with the melee guys, while you have to deal with trying not to fall off the cliffs into the depths of the water, and several other aspects like poison, toxic, and weapon breakage. But I personally think with all those many aspects aside, this is a great area. And like I kind of said before, I love areas where you have to kind of think a little, not just go in and smash things, which I know a lot of people like to do, but you have to kind of think on this area, which I very much like. And this area starts off with a great view, which kind of sets the tone. And also, I think this area has great graphics. It looks nice, and it has like a kind of an aura, like a feeling to it that makes you like feel like it's unique. And like this area is just it by itself. I also think the main reason for its hate is that it's hard. Yes, Soul games are supposed to be hard, but I think most people don't expect that in many aspects in different ways, like the bosses or the enemies or placement or the terrain. They kind of just assume that the boss is gonna be a big, strong boss that'll be a tough fight. They don't really anticipate the areas, and I think that's why they hate any tough areas with lots of enemies or just like tough situations where you have to stop, think, and make a plan. I've also raged a lot of times on this area, but I still do think it might even be in one of the higher areas in this game. For Dark Souls 3, I chose the Smoldering Lake. I didn't really know this area was hated that much. I'm not really in the DS3 community like that. I just did one playthrough of DS3 and decided to call it quits. But I was studying a little bit, I had to make sure I was on top of what I was saying, so I watched a couple of videos, and I saw that Smoldering Lake was usually in the bottom half, if not one of the lower ones. I personally really love this area because I think it's kind of like a mini game, something unique, something different from the Soul style. You're dodging arrows, looking for items, fighting that giant worm thing, and the boss at the end of the area is also pretty cool. And I also think this area has a pretty cool atmosphere, and if I'm totally being honest, I don't even really like this area that much. I kind of just hate every other area in Dark Souls 3. I absolutely despise them all. But I did think some of them are pretty good, and I think this one is the one I like the most that's been rated the lowest. So I think this one deserves a little bit more love and a little bit more recognition. There was another area that I was thinking of, which was the one right after Boreal, the giant frost dog. I actually kind of like the area, and comparing it to the ones after the cathedral and the swamp and the other swamp, I think it's a lot better, a lot funner, looks nicer, plays out better. And I think it's usually generally thought of less than those areas. So, I just wanted to give it some love, put that out there. Just making sure everybody knows that it's an underrated area also. For Sekiro, I chose the Ashina Depths. No, I'm absolutely kidding. I absolutely hate the Ashina Depths and all those snipers waiting to open up all your holes when you least expect it. But for Sekiro, there's not really any underrated areas. I think a lot of them are thought of fairly. But the one I thought that could be maybe a little bit higher was the Harada Estate, because it kind of feels like the Painted World, feels secluded, feels like its own little area / game. And I really think it's a great kind of tutorial. It's got great bosses, it's got great enemies. It's also a very unique area. I think the looks of it are very nice. It looks very nice, it plays very smoothly, and I also think at the end it's very rewarding because the butterfly boss, I forget the exact name, but she's such a fun fight. It's so satisfying to fight her and be able to beat her. I mean, there's not really much to say about this area. Another part that I like is when you're fighting that little tutorial boss who kind of teaches you how to step on the blade and counter it, which I think is called the Makiri counter. It was a pretty strategical fight for me. I did spend a lot of time, a lot of raging, but it felt super rewarding and super sexually nice. The only really down part to this area, in my personal opinion, is the drunkard guy. He is very annoying, but again, I could argue that it's very strategical, which I do like. I like when you're able to like sit there, wake them out, and it feels important, and it feels like it gives you a little gut feeling in your stomach when you do that stuff. Now for Elden Ring, I'm not really considering any of the small areas, just like the areas like Limgrave, Caelid, the snow area. So in my personal opinion, the most underrated area in Elden Ring is definitely the snow area. That one deserves hate for a reason. But I'm going to be going with Caelid here. Caelid for me is such like a unique and fun area. I think it's very well thought out, very well designed. And I don't know if it really gets any hate, but in my personal opinion, I think it's the best area in the game, so I automatically gotta put it the most underrated. I think it's got such unique and versatile enemies. Like when it's your first playthrough and you go to Caelid at a pretty low level, you get that such scared feeling. Not even because you're gonna die, but the enemies there are like genuinely terrifying. And you can like tell this area stinks, and like it gives you that aura, it just gives you that feeling of how this area would be like, and I think this is a great area just for that. Not only does this area do that, but it gives you keys to other spots, great NPCs along the way, and I think the Radahn boss fight is such a fun and unique boss where you can have your allies trying to do this tournament with you. Even after the nerf, I think it's just still a great boss fight. It's super fun nonetheless. I also appreciate how much hidden areas and like unique details are in Caelid. Like the town of sorcery, like that big crystal cave under that you have to break an illusory wall from. Also the dragon that gives you that giant boost to souls. I personally think there's nothing bad about this area. There's probably a few miniature details, but there's nothing that I can think off the top of my head to even remotely put down this area. So I think this is by far the best and most underrated area in Elden Ring. And those are my rankings for the Souls games. I am planning to play Demon Souls and Bloodborne soon, hopefully when I get the chance or when I get a PS5 sometime. But if you've watched this video, thank you for putting up with my lisp. That should be going away soon, you know? So yeah, thank you for watching, and bye.